How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over another video by, I almost called him Jeff Gelman. This is Beckman's dog training. And he's going to be talking about a super simple way to stop a dog from jumping. So it looks like we have a cute little, well, before I get started, I always like to say, all footage here being used under Fair Use Act for education, criticism purposes. Giving my point of view, I'm trying to give a voice to the dog and point out what the dog might be saying or feeling, or what might be beneficial for the dog versus just the human. So, looks like we have a cute little doodle here of some sort, maybe golden doodle, just regular labradoodle, golden poodle, whatever you want to call it.
Rehoming this dog because of this wildness. They were thinking about rehoming this dog because of this wildness.
If this is the wildness that people consider rehoming, first off, if you do, it's okay to rehome an animal when it is a mismatch for you, and otherwise the animal would be living a less than desirable or even neglectful life. If you cannot keep up with grooming and such, and health and whatnot, I'm all for rehoming and doing a really good, thorough search of someone who can take on the dog and give them a better life than what they would have. But if you just get a dog, you train them, you mess them up, you raise them from a puppy, teach them bad lessons, you don't like it, then you get rid of them and get another dog to replace it, that's what I'm not okay with. I'm not in any way claiming that the owners would be doing this, but it is very common because a lot of people get these, they call it a designer dog, it's really just a mix. I mean, technically you could call it a mutt, I don't know. I don't care, I mean, I love dogs, it's a mix, okay, so it looks like some kind of a doodle or an oodle or a poodle cross, and people get them, labradoodles or a golden poodle or whatever, because they look cute, because it's popular, because everybody has one, and then they don't keep in mind the dogs that are going into this, the genes and genetics and behaviors and behavioral traits that go into this, and then they raise it and they don't know what they're doing, and they just then they end up teaching the dog bad lessons, and then they end up rehoming it, and then they repeat the cycle over and over. Again, I have no problem with rehoming an animal if it is necessary. All for that. If you learn from the situation, if you learn and you don't repeat that mistake, otherwise, then just don't continue getting animals. So if it's simply just behavior-wise, I mean, this looks like a very young dog, puppy. Doesn't even look like it's probably a year old. But they see this as craziness. Like, this is nothing compared to what I've seen. But, I mean, I'm not going to judge anybody for if this is their first dog or, their seventh dog, and they just have never had this kind of energy before, then okay. But you need to take responsibility and accountability and help the dog.
Bobby's a jumper on guests. That's his biggest issue. We have one of his favorite trainers is showing up right now. He has not seen her. I'm going to show you by far, check him out, by far,
so I'm assuming this dog has been boarded here before?
Jumping. There's a lot of ways to deal with it. The purely positive folks are going to say, have your guests come in, drop treats all over ground.
He says that as if he knows what not purely positive, what every positive reinforcement or force-free person would do. For me, I'm positive reinforcement, not purely positive. These guys like to spread lies. If I have a dog that jumps on guests, the first thing I do is put him on a leash. And that way, or put him behind a gate, so that way the owner or the guests or whoever can walk by and the dog has no way of getting to them, because the leash, I have them on a leash and I have them say the dog is on a 6-foot leash. Even if they get to the end of the 6-foot leash, the other person is still 4 feet away from them. So I keep the dog at least 10 feet away, or I keep myself 10 feet away from the other person, and then we work on, the dog staying 4 on the floor. Then I can reward for that. But most of the time, if I ever have a dog, or I hear of a dog that jumps on guests, my number one thing is control the dog. Like, have it on a leash. Have your dog on a leash, have a leash by the door, or call your dog into another room where you have a puppy pen, or close the door on them, or whatever. Give them something to do until they calm down. Let the guests come in, then you can let the dog out, hopefully dragging a leash, and that way if they get too jumpy, you can take them and walk them away. So that's how I would do it.
There's other ways where you're going to have a prong, you're going to correct them. There's a way that I'm okay with, which is the dog jumps on, just like that. Look at this. You think this dog isn't a jumper? This dog is
Yeah, it's fine.
jumping up
I mean,
on this.
it's not fine that it's a jumper, but like, he acts like it's like, this is horrible. Oh my god, this requires such special skills. Like, no, there's a number of things you could do. You could have a little window here so he doesn't feel the need to jump to look over. You could have it higher, or close, this off so the sound is not there, or have him in a different room, or have him on a leash, or be rewarding him with treats, or a tug toy while he's over here paying attention to you and not the door. There's a number of things you could do that doesn't require correction.
Is hot, pretty good jump. You see how he's an up dog? Everything's up, up, up. This is a jumper, okay? So I'm going to show you my by far favorite way. It's called the leash step-on method. There's nuance to it.
No, it's really not. You just step on the leash and the dog is just anchored there. It's not anything special. He likes to act like he has this whole new special method. It's the same as any other compulsion trainer uses.
You're going to hold the dog
or balance trainer
on the ground. You are going to give the leash some distance, some space, so that they correct themselves.
Well, that's just stupid. You don't have to do any of that. I would stand with the dog over here on the end of their leash. They could have 4 feet of slack or 6 feet of slack, and they can go to the person, and as long as they're not pulling on me, then I can call them back and reward. I can wait for them to come back and reward. If they're pulling, I just bring them back a step and loosen, so they're on a loose leash. There's a number of things you could do that doesn't require the dog being corrected, period. And especially not correcting themselves, because that's just stupid. The dog is not necessarily correcting themselves. You are setting them up to get corrected by you, because you're standing on the leash. You are setting them up for a correction, whether it's by themselves or yourself adding force to it. It's unnecessary.
I don't like to correct dogs.
Oh, come on, dude. Seriously? No, that's nonsense. That's just... Okay, you don't like to correct dogs, and I'm the late Queen of England.
If a dog corrects itself, that's the greatest thing in the world.
You're an idiot. No. If a dog corrects itself, that means you have failed as a trainer. If a dog ends up getting a correction, running into the leash, you have not prepared the dog. You have not prepared the environment. You're over here talking about you're all skilled and you used to work at SeaWorld and all this and that. Dogs are so easy to work with, and yet you have to rely on corrections for them, and then you say it's the greatest thing in the world? I just say that you're not a very good trainer.
A dog can vary and can change its behavior to no longer give itself a correction. Carly!
Then that means that you do nothing. They could tie this dog to a weight, or a table, or the refrigerator, or a door handle, and just let them run and pop themselves over and over and over again. They don't need to pay you anything.
Are you ready? Okay, hold on. I'll tell you when to come in. So what you're going to do, you have to know when your guests are coming over.
Well,
right?
yeah.
Then you are simply the heaviest person in your household is going to...
So you have to have enough force to be able to apply a correction so this dog hurts itself, because that's what the correction does, is cause a negative. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a detrimental damage to the dog, but it hurts enough to stop the behavior. That's how corrections work. They cause discomfort. I'm not saying it's the most pain in the world, but if you pop yourself at the end of a leash, it still hurts.
On the leash. Look at this guy. Always the perfect dog.
Jesus,
Perfect
pop.
dog.
Look at how look at his loud hands. Yanking, pop, pop.
It's the perfect dog.
He acts like this is just like crazy. If you stop fighting with a dog like this, and if they're jumping and trying to bite at you, and put them on their harness, on their leash, and tie them to an area, but I want to make sure that they're restricted enough in an area where they're not just going to go run into the end of the leash, or I'll have an elastic, leash, one of those bungee cords, that way it takes the shock. I don't want to shock the dog. But I do want to be able to get away from the dog if I have to, if they're jumping, so I can prevent them from practicing that behavior. And again, prevent me from becoming frustrated, because I understand people will be frustrated. I don't have a problem with people becoming frustrated by this behavior, but we cannot take it out on the dog when they don't know any better. And it doesn't mean we need to correct them or use harsh punishment with them. If I have a dog I can't get away from, I put them in behind a door, close it, wait for them to be calm, open the door, try it again. If they jump again, walk them in, close the door, try again. Or I can walk them behind a baby gate so they can still see me, and they can, as soon as they're calm, I will approach, reward. If they jump, I walk away. And it's just the ability to, or if they're on the leash tied to a tree or something, same thing, where I just walk away, and as soon as they jump up and go crazy, I just move away. And when they're calm, I move towards them, and we can begin there. That's where I would start with this dog. I wouldn't start with guests right now, because he already seems super excited just having the leash on. I feel like you need to do more work on this before you can get guests coming in. That's just my opinion.
To show you guys
Pop.
Control and jumping. Okay, here's what you're not going to do.
2 inches on the leash, over-controlling, control freak.
Are you going to step on the leash here? No. Look it. Watch the jump. He's going to be able to get all the way up. Give about...
So what happened between that cut? Did the dog start mailing you and you corrected it? I mean, like, he's just... You don't need to lift the dog up and teach it more undesirable behavior because you're trying to make a point.
6 inches of leash. So now, if the dog jumps, he is going to jump, correct, jump, correct, jump, correct. Carly, come on in.
So he's just, by doing that, kind of either amping the dog up more, or he's correcting, or... I would say if you're going to have somebody come in, I wouldn't be this close. If the dog is excitable and jumping, I would be back here, and we would work our way up to them. Just like with the door, you know, if you have your dog tethered to a door, behind a door, or behind a baby gate, you can have the guests approach and move away, and you just stand there as the anchor holding onto the leash, or you and the dog can approach and move away anytime they try to jump. You don't have to correct. I mean, the correction could be seen as the dog moving away from the person. They don't get what they want. That is a correction, but it's not anything physical.
Come right up to the dog, please.
That's just stupid.
Hey, how are
You're
you?
setting him up for failure.
Oh my goodness, he's so cute. Hi, baby.
He's like, jump, correct, jump, correct, jump, correct, jump, correct, jump,
It
correct.
just, that doesn't really work for the dog. You're just holding him in place. You're not really teaching him anything. And look at how much force he has to apply to this. You think everyday owners are going to be able to do this or try this? I mean, I would be holding his leash in my hand, and I would just be over here. And if he wants to go and scramble to meet her, then we'll back up a little bit till he's calm, and we can take a step, and I can reward, take a step and reward, and so on and so forth.
Perfect. Jump, correct, jump, correct. Then
He's really
gonna
just
pet
being
the dog
held
when
there.
You made a choice to not jump.
Yes.
Now, I can say right now that this is really not that bad because he doesn't give the dog a lot of slack. Like it looks like here he might be doing, I don't know. But this went better than I expected it to. I expected him to let the dog get to the end of the leash and pop, and they kind of spin around.
Your guest is going to pet the dog when they make a choice not to jump.
Yes.
Shake off.
And
Very good.
reinforce. Reinforce the no jumping,
Good.
and the dog is getting a correction for the jumping. There was like 6 of them in succession. Then, when the guest is in the house, sit.
Don't worry about the sit and over controlling. And please stop that touching. You really got to be careful when you're doing that. You're jabbing him on the side. A lot of dogs will redirect on you, and you teach them to be hand shy. Don't jab them when you want him to sit. He's clearly over threshold, so he's not going to be able to sit.
Sit.
See, he'd rather be with her than you.
He's not getting off. He's not
Pop,
getting off
pop,
when he's
pop,
doing this backup
ouch.
thing.
Jesus Christ, dude.
I don't care that he sat. I don't care that he wants to see Carly.
Well, you asked him to sit. You should care that he sat. Quit hitting him with your hand. He's not hitting him, he's jabbing him.
Sit.
Jesus, dude. Oh, now he tries to lure because everything else he was doing wasn't working. So now he has to lure with an empty hand. But this got the dog to sit much quicker than your macho mumbo jumbo.
I don't care that he's worked up. None of this matters to me. You have a major problem with your dog going nuts with guests.
He's going to jump again. I would let him just drag the leash. He's not ready to have this leash off. Otherwise, it's just going to be scrambling for him again. I would let him drag the leash. Well, really on like a regular harness, but, you know, on a collar too, if it's appropriately, you know, it's not a thin little string. We can let him walk around. If he starts to jump again, then I can take the leash and I can walk him away.
They get control. Okay. Then he gets released. Let's see if there's a jump in there. There might be.
If there is,
Over
then
here,
you're an
Carly.
idiot because you set the dog up for failure.
There was 6 tries.
But as soon as she goes to pet him, a lot of times this will happen. When I go to bend over to pet a dog and I stand up again, that'll make the dog want to jump because the face is interesting we bend down, we become more interesting, we're more face to face with them, we stand up and they want to follow our face.
From Bobby. He corrected himself on all 6.
Very good. She has better timing than he does. She is very good in being able to read this dog, except, I would say maybe don't like look at him quite as much in an excited state, because that can also drive him to jump. But she pets, and then she removes her hand before he gets too excited. She keeps her hands behind her back. He didn't instruct any of this, or maybe he did, I don't know. But she's doing A+. And if she pets him, he moves his little head over, she takes her hands away. He sits, rewards.
He's not technically jumped on her. He tried 6 times, but we used this. It eliminated the behavior. He has not jumped on her 1 time. And I did not tell you, hit an e-collar. I did not tell you to give your guests a bunch of instructions of walking in and taking their space back. It was mainly done by you and a leash, and it was my favorite way to do a jumping.
Well, yeah, but you also pop the dog 20 times over here. Pop, and then you realized you learned, which is great. The dog taught you that, hey, doing this nonsense doesn't get me to listen to you. I'm going to run away from you. And if this is the owner of the dog, I would be all over his case. Don't you jerk and pop at my dog. That's not going to happen. But look, the human learned that doing that doesn't work. Good job, dog. You taught the stupid human that he has to use softer ways to do it, because trying to show him who's boss didn't do squat. But you lure him and you act quieter. The dog says, yeah, I'll sit. Good job, dog. You're a good trainer.
Worked up. None of this matters to me.
Well, he's worked up because of you. You caused that, so it should matter to you. But that's this video. So just a quickie. I don't know if it's really quick. Quicker for me, I guess, comparatively. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned, if you learned anything. But I hope it was fun to watch. I'll be posting some more reviews here shortly. And so I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next time, stay positive.